episode of Riding with Jonathan. I'm your host, Jonathan Larsen. I am with Rich Merkouris from Empower Sioux Falls. He is the director of Empower Sioux Falls. He is joining us. He also does a lot of other things that we're going to learn about today. So Rich, starting out, thank you for being here. Is this your first time in a Volkswagen bus?
This is. It's been a fabulous ride.
Smooth so far, yeah. They'll see the video. But what do you think about being so close to the front of the car?
It's like an up front row, sitting on the sidelines. You just don't know what to do if you're gonna have to do something quick.
Yeah, I'm pretty cautious and I don't come up too close, but you can get really close to the back of the car because you can see it. So Rich, tell us a little bit about Empower Sioux Falls.
Yeah, Empower Sioux Falls, Jonathan, really exists to try to bring nonprofits together to help people who are in poverty. So our whole vision is unite in service. People might be familiar with the Empower campus in town. It's at the old South Dakota School for the Deaf site. And the whole vision there is that different agencies are coming together to serve our community. So we've got people that offer transportation services, childcare, financial counseling, life counseling. We just try to unite in service because anybody who's in poverty is going to help from 4 to 6 different agencies at the same time.
And you're all there on the campus, and this is relatively new for you, right? I mean, not maybe the Empower, but how long have you been in the campus?
I've been in the campus for about 3 years now.
Okay.
We used to be downtown, called the Sioux Falls Ministry Center,
okay.
And then we transitioned to the campus now, and we've got a couple other things going in the community as well. We do some housing in Pettigrew Heights.
Okay.
We've got a neighborhood soccer program, trying to bring together the faith community and businesses to reach out to Title I schools. And we've got a grocery food initiative through Fair Market. And then I'm also highly involved with Compassion Childcare, nonprofit childcare helping families in poverty.
So and that's why I wanted you on it, because you have your hand or a direct contact with a lot of nonprofits. You kind of envision these things or bring them up, and then you like hand them off to other people, or other people join you in this. But you united a lot of people to create one big like superpower to help these families so they don't have to keep going from one place to another. Is that kind of...
That's the vision, that's the desire, right? Yep.
Okay. And so with doing that, you're also like, I know you because you go to a lot of my events. And not just my events, you're just there for their events. You're not there for me.
I just follow you around, basically.
Yeah. But there is one time you bailed me out because I had a client who thought it would be good to auction my services off. And it's a good idea in theory. The problem is nobody knows what the value of that really was. And I was up there, and if you've ever seen Groundhog's Day, when they do that bachelor auction, I didn't go as well as Bill Murray did, but like the cameraman who got up there and like barely got any bids, that was where I was at. And you mercy bid on me, and you were like, let's just shut this down, I'll take him, next item, kind of a thing. And
kind of what I do as a groupie, you know.
Yeah.
Following around, I'm there to protect.
You were, and then you ended up using that free service, but you didn't know it because I came in and it was an event you were kind of attached to. And you remember that?
Yes.
It was at Kingdom Capital.
Yep.
And then I'm like, oh, he had me in his back pocket. All Rich has to do is call me and I'm there, you know? And so we got it taken care of, but you did bail me out there. So you do give back a lot as well. Like you're supporting, not just by creating these or being on the board of these places, you're also supporting other nonprofits in the area.
My wife and I love doing the community stuff. Whatever we've been entrusted with, we try to give back to the community and partner in whatever way we can.
So what is a typical day like for you?
That's a great question. I love what I do because every day is different.
Okay.
One day I might be coordinating some volunteer groups to work on some housing stuff. The next day I might be meeting with some donors to talk about, you know, the needs in childcare or other needs in the community. The next day I might be doing something in government in my city council role. The next day I might be doing something at church in my pastor role. So every week is a little bit different. A lot of it's focused around identifying a need, bringing people together to meet that need.
But yeah, you listed like 10 things. So you have probably 4 full-time jobs, give or take. And then you're still a father and a husband. And so you have to find time with that. And I follow you on Instagram. And so that's why I thought you would be a great person to interview, just because of your personal life and your posts and just the interaction you have with your family and the love that you have for your Blackstone grill.
We love having people over, try to include our kids in everything that we do. And I just kind of follow a non-structured schedule. So nothing's like set in stone. Like your typical day, you're not an 8 to 5 guy. I mean, you can't be, but you're just flexible enough to try to get all that. I've got one structured thing every week. I got to be at church at 9:30 to preach. Outside of that, everything's flexible. Move around, do whatever.
All right. So when you're looking for these nonprofits, like when you're going to events, what kind of events do you typically go to? What are you looking for as from that giving side? When you're choosing to give, what appeals to you, and what should other nonprofits try to highlight at their events to compel people to give? I guess is what I'm saying. What kind of does that for you?
Impact and action oriented. I think, like, what's the impact if you didn't exist? What would happen if you didn't exist?
Okay.
If you went away today, this family would not have the opportunity to keep working because they would decide to stay on some assistance program, otherwise, whatever it might be. So I love the question. If you just went away today, what would happen? I need to try to answer that question. And then also, I love when people show an impetus for action. Like, I am not a, hey, let's sit around. Can we do a 75-page study report on this? I'd probably get myself in trouble because sometimes I shoot, aim, ready, when I think you're supposed to be aim, ready, or whatever it is. Ready, aim, shoot.
Ready, aim, fire thing, yeah.
So action-oriented, and then showing the impact of that action.
And I think you're right. A lot of people kind of get hung up in the details and worrying about different things when the people that come to your event or working with nonprofits, if they want to give, they want to see what is your impact. Where's that money that they donate going to, and how has that helped the community? You know, that's bottom line is, okay, I'm here to give, but show me why that is important and what have you done with that money in the past. And they just want you to be good stewards of their money. I guess it's really...
Bingo. And, telling people all the time, like, you gotta cut out the fluff sometimes. Sometimes we think we like to hear what we're saying, but all the individuals that are participating, there's very few donors that are involved in just one entity.
Yeah.
So they're being invited to multiple things, so you've got to zero in and focus because you've got their attention for a few moments. And they don't want to hear about your story about a puppy dog at home and what you think is funny. You're not that funny. Cut to the chase of the impact of your organization and how they can help.
Yeah, and that is very true. And if I haven't talked on this platform, I've talked on it before, that several times that I'm meeting with these organizations now, I look at their script and it's video after video, story and speaker and speaker and speaker. They know why they're there. One more story, one more video isn't going to convince them to give if they're not already there. And it's just going to kind of drive them away in a sense. Like, they want to be a part of the solution, but they don't want to know all the ins and outs of the problem. Is that fair to say? Like, they want to give you money, have you take care of it, but they don't need to know all the details about it. That's why you're in the position you're in.
Bingo. And what I try to encourage people is, those who want that level of detail, that's a conversation over coffee. To get to page 7, subpoint B of Excel spreadsheet sector C on that, that's a coffee conversation where you dig into that level of detail. Focus on that impact during the gathering. You do a great job at your events of tying the stuff back. When you're auctioning off an item, you always talk about, hey, think of that young child going to preschool right now. And so tying it back to that impact.
Yeah, correct. Because and a lot of people that come to your event, they're bringing friends. And they just want to have a good time. They want to socialize. But like you said, they go to a lot of these. So I hate to say it, but sometimes they even dread going to your event. And the key is to try to get it so they don't dread it. So they're like, oh, no, this is a good one. They get us in, they take our money, and then we can be with our friends. It doesn't drag on. And people know why you're inviting them to your event. It's not like it's going to be a surprise like, oh, by the way, hey, we should ask for money at this thing. No, they know what's going to happen. Exactly. And you got to respect people's time. And same with that coffee deal, like you mentioned, it would be best to have that conversation one-on-one and maybe turn them into like a monthly donor or more of a long-term case like that. All right. I gotta navigate this.
We're at
turn.
a really busy intersection here. This is kind of like an auction, though. You got a lot going on. You got a lot of bidders. You're trying to decide which one to go with.
I got a car I gotta be careful with. My son watched some of these and he goes, Dad, you do a lot. Like, you're trying to talk, you have to shift, and he goes, you talk with your hands. And so he goes, you don't even hold on to the wheel very much. I said, I know, but I think I got it. And I could go out on the highways, but it's so windy that I would just be fighting this thing. It's like driving a bread box in a windstorm, and it just doesn't have any weight to it. So with all of that, what would you say are some tips that you would give other nonprofits if they're, let's get into a board. Picking a board. Do you know much about picking a board?
The number one thing is always being clear on what you're asking for. What do you need, and why are we asking you to join the team? I think that's a big piece of it. I think at the end of the day, I'm not saying that I'm the best at this, because I'm not, because I'm kind of a doer. Let's get things done. Is you want to ultimately get to a situation where your donors, your board members, are saying we. So when they get that newsletter for Compassion Child Care, they get that newsletter for wherever, when they see it, they want to say, how are we doing? Okay. Because they got so much ownership of it that's their level of concern. That's a heavy lift to get to that point, but that's where you want to build that relationship, where they see it as part of their family.
Because if I was to say, boldly state, I would say the relationship between the board and the organization, the executive director, things like that is the toughest bridge to gap, because you sometimes have board members that they want to be on the board, maybe just to say that they're on the board, and then you have those people that are like the doers, like you said, that are like, hey, let's do what we can do. And that's kind of what I'm wondering, like, how do you deal with board members that maybe are there, but they're not really there? You know what I mean? Like, I think you know what I'm talking about, but how do you mitigate that?
At some juncture, we have to move beyond Minnesota nice. And everybody's been in that situation where you ask the employee, well, how's this working for you? And then you kind of go back and forth. Instead of that, you got to be straightforward and saying, hey, out of respect for your time, out of respect for our time, we need to move in a different direction. Where are you passionate about that we could help you get you situated, and so forth. So I think people appreciate direct, even though direct can be difficult and uncomfortable.
And then that just comes down to communicating what the responsibilities right off the bat of the board and what's to be expected, and having that laid out. So before they even come on the board, that they can see those guidelines and be like, okay, I am going to be a part of this event. I'm going to help with this aspect, this and this. It's not just show up for a meeting once a month or quarter or whatever, and then...
Yeah, I've run into this multiple times where if I heard the joke that board members have a responsibility to give it or to get it. And so they're kind of like, well, how much is it, whatever. So I think as a board, you got to decide, is there an amount that we expect board members to give? Okay. And if there is, that's fine, but just make sure you state it clearly so there's not an unspoken expectation or assumption. Yeah. And some board members are kind of looking at others like, hey, are they meeting that? But the expectation was never spoken. So I would say just define that. I'm not a big fan of setting a specific number of expectation for board members, but you got to decide that for your entity and then express that expectation, I think, is critical so there's not an underlying assumption.
All right. Yeah, it's just, in all my consulting and stuff like that, sometimes I go in and I talk to the board and I just try to rally them and around this idea and just put everybody together. But I'm not on the board, and I haven't ever had to facilitate a board, so I was just kind of wondering what your take on was that. So what is your favorite part about your job? What's your favorite thing to do if you didn't need any money and you just had to do one part of it or a couple parts? What would that be?
I still love ground level, helping a single mom move into their apartment for the first time. I love just that day-to-day activity of working at that ground level. At the same time, I also love organizing and coordinating. That's seeing this issue and then pulling together different ways to meet that issue.
So we got a common theme in a couple of my videos here is like the people I've talked to are passionate about what they do, and I think that really helps. Especially in the nonprofit, you have to be passionate about what you're doing. I mean, because this job, I mean, it could take a toll on you, and there's we're talking about all the good stuff, but sometimes there are some tough things to do. And so you like being that guy. I mean, even though you're at top of some of these organizations and stuff like that, one of your favorite things is being that first contact or being the one to help deliver the results.
Yeah, I've learned about myself is that I'm completely separated out from the activity of the entity. I struggle to have that passion. But that passion comes from being with the people, because that's where the stories come of why you're connecting people that are giving. And so when I share a story, I never want to be a person who's just sharing stories from something that I wasn't a part of or engaged with. I want to be able to share first-hand stories that I was a part of that I can share with passion, so the passion isn't made up. It's truly flowing from, I was involved in this, I talked to this person. That's important to me.
Are there any things on your horizon? I mean, what's next for you? What are your goals? What do you have coming up? Is there anything you could share? I mean,
one big thing right now is childcare is a huge challenge everywhere, and trying to find a way to scale the work that we're doing at Compassion Childcare, partnering with churches, finding other partners in the community, scale what we're doing in a sustainable way. It's just a real challenge right now because of the economic model and the financial realities.
I'm trying to navigate
you're at the most
this
difficult intersection in the city.
I am, and I don't know why I'm doing this, but it's not even that. The clutch isn't even right, and this car's like behind me thinking that they're just gonna get right up on me, and they don't care. If you're ever behind a Volkswagen bus or an old manual car, here's a word of advice. Just stay back like 10 feet, because sometimes they don't have as much control as you think they do.
Give them their space.
Give them their space. This old girl, she don't move like she used to. So, all right, so you the child care with Compassion, you got that going on. I mean, that's going to be a need for the foreseeable future. I mean, that stems from both parents working more than I think in years past even. I mean, that it's more of an issue, and finding good quality child care is a thing. So let's see, what else do you have?
I think a big thing that I'm passionate about is how do we engage more people. I think volunteerism as a whole is struggling. Now people are more segmented, people are more on the go than ever. So getting people connected in where they're serving every single week. So for example, the mentorship in our Title I schools in Sioux Falls is way down over the last 5 years. And just getting people that are saying, hey, you know what, I'll serve an hour every week. That's where the real change comes. Is people call all the time saying, hey, I want to volunteer. When do you want to volunteer? Well, we want to do like a small group of 35 people come and do something. Like, that's great. But if you really want to make a difference, it's, hey, I'm available every Tuesday from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. Or I'm available every Thursday night from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. So how to mobilize people to engage and serve in whatever agencies on our nonprofit campus. So whether that's at Compassion or whether that's at the Community Outreach or Center of Hope, trying to mobilize people to go and give their time, because at the end of the day, obviously we're all raising dollars.
Yeah.
At the same time though, raising time is where the transformation happens, because poverty is broken relationships. So until you can get relationship people engaged and giving their time to mentor, to read, whatever it might be, to teach, it's going to be a tough go.
And a lot of that happens on the one-on-one level. You know, I mean, the big groups are great, but what you're saying is a lot of that happens with just one-on-one, just helping men that where they could just be honest and truthful. So
I tell people all the time, number one need in our city right now is, you want to make a difference, is mentor someone that's been in incarceration and is coming out. If you really want to change the dynamics of our community, do that, or go to a Title I school and mentor a child. That's one-on-one, 30 minutes, 60 minutes a week, make a major difference.
All right, Rich Merkouris, thank you very much for riding along with us. We thank you guys for watching this, and we'll see you in the next episode.